Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years, and our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
As life happens to them, as pain happens to them, they tend to move from a buyer in power to a buyer in heat, and at that point is when they usually make a decision. Right? We talk about people they buy a car when the air conditioning goes out. They'll buy a car when it's overheating. Right? They'll buy a car when their radiator blows up. And so part of that is there's certain parts of life that do, and there's also pain circumstances outside of that. And so our job is to look at how do we take buyers who are in power and help move them to a buyer in heat or a seller in heat. And so the way we access that, the way we do that is through what? Questions, and deeper we want to access something. What do we want to access? Their pain. You got to access their pain and find their true pain, and be able to make sure that we can show them the mirror of what that pain truly is, so they can make a decision to better their life, right? To get what they need to find the outcome, because obviously, at least in our business, they wouldn't be sitting in front of you if they did not have some type of pain that needed to be solved. Well, can we agree on that, right? They wouldn't submit to the website, they wouldn't call up the number on the sign, they wouldn't call the money phone, they wouldn't be looking at 37 houses in the last 2 days. They didn't have some type of pain they didn't want out. When you call them, what's going to happen?
They're going to shut you down.
They're going to say they're not buying pain, they're buying in heat, or they're not going to ever come across that way. I think this is where a lot of people mess up as sales agents, is they think that they just listen to people. So when they tell you they're just looking, you just like, okay, hang the phone up. Right? You're just over and over and over all the time. So part of that's having the certainty to be able to go through that aspect of it, and the other part is just making sure we're able to move them. Right? The third part in there was somebody who basically, they call it looky-loo. The number one mistake that I've seen is people tend to try to take a failure of closing and make them a looky-loo. Almost did not teach on that on purpose, because people would group a failure to close into a looky-loo. The looky-loo only example is someone who cannot qualify at that time. That's the only way they should be in there. If they can qualify, they are a buyer in power. Why?
Because they have to buy.
Because they qualify, they can buy.
They have the ability to. If they wanted to. If things were right. If things were in the right scenario and things were lined up correctly, they could buy or they could sell. Meaning that it's our job, our responsibility to make sure we're segmented between 1, 2, and 3, because most of which that come through here are going to be 2s. And so our job is to look at how do we line things up in the right order to move them from buyer to power, seller to power, however you want to have that, to a buyer or seller heat. How we access that is through questions, through asking them questions, through digging deeper, and helping influence them to where they need to be, so that we can obviously help them get to where they need to be. It could be a new house, it could be a smaller house, it could be a bigger house, it could be any of those types of houses. Based on what they want, but what we have to do is be willing to dig and be willing to understand the psychology, understand what's driving them, understand really where they need to go, right? And we talked about 3 different questions that we can ask them. What was the question number 1?
I think we were talking about how opening them up. Obviously, we want to know their pain, but you don't want to go into the second question, which is what drives you crazy about your current situation. You want to kind of open it up first with, well, what's the best thing about your living situation right now? So they can kind of talk to you about it, and then that's when you can kind of spring up, well, what's driving you crazy? What's the worst thing that's going on right now?
So what's the question number 1?
Best thing about your living situation.
Yep, and it's a blank there. It can be living situation, it could be a house,
home.
Living. That's flexible based on the consumer, based on the situation. Why? We want to ask that question. That's what we call, right, the 1-2 punch, the jab plus the hook, right? Because psychologically, you say the positive first, ask a positive question to get them in that mode of understanding, and obviously reflecting and feeling what do they truly like most about where they're at now. And so what do you like best about your current situation? What do you like best about your current living situation? Because that could be location, who they're living with, right? They can say, well, I got a mother-in-law that's helping me babysit. Or they could be close to the mall, or they could be close to the grocery store. And so we want to have that, and then the second part of that is don't be afraid, or really need to be skilled in taking that to second and third level questions in that first one. So really these first 3 are going to make, you're really going to turn into 9 or 10 if you're good. Why? Because I want to understand the psychology, understand what's going on with them. And so I say, hey, look, what's the best thing about your living situation right now? They're going to say something like, I don't know, where it's located, the layout, the size, whatever that may be. And so part of what we do there is we take that deeper. Great. Tell me more about that. That's a big one you want to say. Great. Tell me more about that. And so part of that is making sure that you can go deeper. And part of it, as they talk about it on a deeper level, what's going to happen?
More and more things are gonna pop up that you can kind of use.
Yeah, what else?
Their pain's gonna come.
They're going to feel it. Or their pleasure if it's something great, right? What do they like most about it? Well, we like, that, we can
It has a
go,
pool.
yeah, whatever it is. It's got a neighborhood pool there. We like to go spend time, well, tell me more about that. Oh, great. We like to go spend time on the weekends when we're off, with our children and they play and have a great time. Cool, okay, so that's obviously important to you, right? And then you obviously take that to a deeper question. Now, on the flip side, you want to ask the second question after opening that up. What's the second question?
What is the worst thing about?
Yeah, what's the worst thing about your current living situation? Let me ask you this. What's the worst thing about your living situation right now? And so you can frame that up however you want. Hey, let me ask you this. What's the worst thing about your living conditions now, or your living situation now? They're going to give you a surface level answer. Why? Because that's just how humans work. And so we have to be sophisticated enough to understand that that's what they're going to be giving us is a surface level question, surface level answer. And so as I get that answer back, right, where am I going to go? Deeper, right? Tell me more about that. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. If you get something that you can grab hold of, that you want to learn more about, at that point you're looking for something that you can go down the rabbit hole with. Why? Because I want to know more about how I can help them. If I can understand the person's pain, I can understand how I can help them. But it's not until I can understand their pain truly on a deep level that I ever be able to help them. Hence why most agents are just order takers. They're just door openers and order takers, and then they run around ragged without ever writing any offers up, without ever getting any offers accepted, because they're simply stuck at the surface level, and that's what most people fail at. And so, as I say, well, what else is it about that? And let me ask you this. What is it that just drives you crazy about your current situation? See the tonality there? About their pain? Let me ask you this. What is it that drives you crazy about your current situation? And so as I'm connecting with them and having that conversation, at that point, what are they going to probably do?
Just throw up on you.
They may let loose a little bit. Well, I'm going to tell you this is really terrible. I can't stand the neighbors or the people above me that are beating on the damn floors every night at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right? So like you're having a bowling tournament on the roof above me, right? That's the stuff that we're looking for. Why? Because that's what the true pain is that allows me to help them. That's what the true problem is that we're trying to solve. Is like, what's that one? What are they? So I'm teeing it up here, right? I'm teeing up with the first part. What's the best thing? Tell me what you dislike, and then what really drives you crazy about it. And at that point, they're usually going to go deeper and tell you something they haven't. They've been holding back on. Because one, they're scared that you're going to try to sell them something, and two, everyone tends to posture in life in all areas, even with their friends. And so what we got to do here is help them understand it's okay to share that, and two, make sure they're willing to share that.
What I was going to say was, at this point, we've literally asked them 5 or 6 questions. So like the first question is like, it's easy, like just tell me something positive. It's not really like confrontational, or it's not extracting really. It's just asking them kind of something to open them up. And by the second, the third, it's like we're asking them the same question. What's the worst thing about your current situation? And then what just drives you crazy? You know what I mean? It's the way you're asking. It's like you're asking the same question, but now they're like really opening up to you. You've asked them 6 questions. They have to speak at this point,
Right.
versus in the beginning, if you were to ask them, what drives you crazy? They're like, I don't want to tell you, so.
You can't lead with that question, right? So
Yeah,
a lot of people
it's
screw
very
up.
structured.
A lot of people screw up by going straight to the
Punch.
abrasive question.
Yeah.
Called. And so what happens when you go straight to the abrasive question is you're out of rapport.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're looking to do in your first 5 or 6 questions, or however you want to frame those, is that each question I'm asking, I'm getting deeper in rapport, deeper in rapport, deeper in rapport, so that by the time I do, hey, look, let me ask you this. What really drives you crazy about your current situation? What are they going to feel? A deeper connection? They've already shared some of their emotions, so they're going to go deeper to that to share that point. And so it's our job to extract that, just like we're a therapist, just like we're here as a psychologist to help them understand that. And so now I'm able to really truly get some leverage to understand. And part of it is why we don't do this to necessarily persuade. I'm doing this so I can help influence and get them to where they need to go. We all need to do that. Does that make sense?
People just don't tell you. Like in that first question, normally it's well, we're just looking for a bigger space.
Right.
Like that's a very generic, oh, well, nothing's really wrong, we're just looking, just for a little bit more space, they live in an apartment, and I'm like, okay, well then tell me what drives you crazy, then that's when they go into, oh my God, well freaking the rent keeps going up, and the neighbors, and it's $1,600 a month, plus a garage, and we gotta walk to the garage, it's on the other side of the complex, and then they just start going, but.
It's a perfect example of what we had on Tuesday last week.
Yeah.
The guy called in, right, spoke to Joe. The guy called him, he just wanted his value of his house, right?
Yeah.
And then Joe dug deeper, what happened?
I don't remember.
The divorce,
He's actually going through a
right?
divorce.
Oh, yeah, he's going through a divorce.
And he had just had an appraisal done on the house a month before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
So
It's
the
a completely
reality
different
is,
story.
it's just how everyone is, right? Like I mentioned, I used to want to buy that watch cleaner at the mall forever. They had this really cool like purple watch cleaner. You ever seen that stuff? And like if you go by and they just like jump on you and attack you, right? So I just give them the Heisman and just go off. And so part of that is I've never bought it ever because I hate to be sold. I hate some guy coming at me, trying to take my watch off and clean the watch. And just I want a simpler way to do that. This is how all humans are. Is they're afraid to be sold. You go into dealers, right, looking for a shirt, and they say, "Can I help you?" What do we tell them?
No, we're just looking.
Just looking, right? But you walk out with 2 or 3 things. And so part of that is just human psychology. And so the key here is to understand what's the psychology and play that game to win. Right? Randy, you had something?
Yeah, so in my discovery after my intent statement, people expect me to ask them questions so that I can better serve them. I think it's important to realize, question one, I spend the majority of my time on question one, but there's so many layers with me in my discovery on the positive. So I'm always a big fan of starting with positive and then going into the negative to kind of recap it and finish it off. But, after you were saying, what do you like best about your current living situation, or the best thing about, your current situation that is now, and then tell me more about that. I mean, I'd have to count or try to play it in my head how many different positive questions I have, but 2 main areas that I focus on is one, their house, like your living situation, but more importantly, their area.
Right.
Because we have such a broad area here.
Right.
And I tell them to paint me a picture. Paint me a picture of where you are now, and what you love about it. And then I'll get to paint a picture, and my second level before I even get to the negative stuff, paint me a picture of your perfect area, your perfect house. Yep. And then, I have more detailed questions of it, but this is like exactly my discovery right here.
And that's question 3. What's question 3? You guys have question 3 in there?
Design the perfect, what would the perfect situation look like?
So if you could design a perfect living situation, what would it look like? I'm with you, I'm head, 7 heads, all right?
No,
sorry.
So it's all right. So if you could design the perfect living situation, what would that look like for you? This is the one that's most important to go much deeper on because we want them to feel, we want them to understand. I want them to really get into their emotional aspect of their subconscious mind so we can look and feel. And at that point, if you've done it right, they're going to be open enough to really truly explain to you what's most important. If you could design the perfect living situation, what would it look like? You're not looking for just 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I'm talking about the deep stuff.
Like I want to be able to be 5 minutes from Walmart and the kids'
Yeah.
school.
And be careful though that we're not just straight on features. Because you're going to create a picture that's not paintable.
Yeah.
I want a picket fence that's 2 miles from the food line, also 3
Yeah.
miles from the Kroger, and also I can walk to the beach and do a backflip into the back pool. Right?
435.
For $135,000.
$435,000.
No HOA.
Yeah, with no HOA. So the reality is, make sure we understand, and it's important for a lot of you that just think surface level, that what's most important to you about the situation, right? How is it important for you to have the family unit in there together? And dig for more emotional stuff. You're going to use the data from your first 2 questions to help build that. Well, based on what you told me about, hating whatever else, you probably don't want to be in townhome. You probably want to be something with a little bit of space. Is that correct? Whatever it is, you're going to have to get them going, because if you just ask that question, you don't lead them with small 2nd, 3rd level questions, they're going to say, well, we want the bedroom 2-bath, somewhere on the Grand Strand. And then you're going to be stuck. And then you're not going to be specific enough to get what they want. But on the flip side of that, you're not going to, you can over limit that if you want by getting to too many features. Does that make sense?